And hello, good people of the internet. This is Tommy Kelly, and this is, of course, the Tommy Kelly podcast. And on this episode, I have two things I want to cover. The first one is the monthly question and answer Patreon thing that we do. So basically, the patrons get to ask me questions, and then I answer them. There's a number of questions, and it actually came out quite well in the end. There was I didn't know there'd be enough questions to get any kind of length of time, but as usual I rambled and ranted on for a while, so that was good. The second thing I want to talk about is the photography club finals that happened last Thursday, and how I got on, and my thoughts about it, and about the future of photography and all of those things. The future of my photography in general. I've not come to talk future of photography in general, because what do I know about that? So before we get into that, I just want to say that the Witch print is still on sale, and you can get that by going to adventuresinwoo.com and click on store in the top right hand corner, and it'll be a drop down thing, and you'll see the Witches print there. Signed and numbered, limited to 40. It looks fantastic. The print was done by the guy who does my photography prints, so it's like top class, properly printed out by a professional. And I'm really happy with it, and I hope people like it. It's scent rolled, which may be an issue for some people, but it's just perfect then, easy enough to frame, perfect for framing, and it comes in a kind of satin finish. It's A3 in size, signed and numbered. So check that out if that's something you are interested in. Also over there you will see that there's still, as of recording this, there's still I think 2 sets of the 4 devil things left, so check that out, the altar cards, if that's something you are into. So without further ado, and without trying to sell you any more things, let's get into the podcast proper. So now to the question answer section. This is something that is part of the Patreon, is part of the word, so that anyone who is part of the Patreon, signs up to that, gets to ask me a question that I first of all I used to do in videos, and now I just do in the podcast. But I've been getting less and less questions as it goes on, and I assume, well, I hope that's not because I've become less and less interested and no one does care. It's just maybe not something people are into, because I'm easy enough to ask questions for in general without making kind of a song and dance of it in a question and answer type thing. So I don't know about the longevity of doing this, and this might be the last one, or I might just, I don't know, ask for topics or something like that rather than just direct questions. I've done that before, and anyway. So if you want to ask me a question that I'll answer on the podcast, look out for the question and answer thing thread next month, and we'll see how it goes. So I didn't get a tremendous amount of questions again this month, but I've enough to do a section, so we get on to it. So the first question is from Shaman Smith on Patreon, and he says, I love the limited edition The Witch print. I'm just going to assume it's a huge success because it's crazy awesome. Any idea of what servant you would want to do that for next? Well, I'm so glad you like it. And my thoughts originally was going to be to put it up for vote for each print and stuff like that, so that people could give me feedback on which one they want, whatever. But the problem is that the Witch print, as of yet, and it's not out that long, hasn't really sold well. And that's fine. Like, I'm not complaining, definitely not. The onus is on me to deliver stuff that people want, rather than being me complaining about people not wanting the things I put up. The only issue, though, with doing it and the way I've done it, as opposed to the way I usually do, like, say, the altar cards and stuff like that, is that when I do the altar card stuff, I can do that too on demand. If an order comes in, I can print them, laminate them, sign them, send them. Or I do it slightly ahead of time, because I know there's certain ones that are more popular than others. But with the Witch print, say that 10 times fast, I did that, went to my printer, the printer who I do my photography stuff with, and got the 14 printed up so that they'll all be very consistent. They're all done and they're all sitting there. And obviously there's a huge cost with that, to do that up front, that you hope to recoup with sales of the things. So while it's kind of something I can do once, and justify once and have the witch print sitting there. As it stands at the minute, about only five or six of them have sold. So it's not something that's kind of, then I would be able to go and do another print and just have them sitting there when I have the witch print. Oh, there. It's like, it's not something I want to have build up and spend a lot of cost on, spend a lot of money on, if it's not something that people will buy. And I'm aware that it could be over a longer period of time that these things will sell. But again, we've issues of having space, because I have to keep them as safe as possible, because I don't want to be selling prints that, have been sitting on a shelf for a while or whatever and might have got slightly damaged, or, you can't leave them out in the sun and all that because they'll fade and all those kind of things. So I don't know. Maybe if it picks up, if it's something that people are into, then obviously I will do it. But as it stands right now, only a handful of people are into it, and I assume the cost is probably part of that. But I don't know, because when I put certain things, like when I was doing comics and I had them at different price points, more people always bought things when they were more expensive than people buy when they're cheaper. That's my experience. And more people have an interest in something when you put a charge in it rather than giving it away for free, which is all equally interesting. And I assume it's because the value that then is placed upon it, the idea, if you give something away for free, then there's not really any value. You don't add or associate any value with it, even if it is very useful. But if you charge 200 million euro for exactly the same thing, people are, obviously see more value in it and stuff. So I don't know. Lots of things going on. But to answer which one I would like to see, I would like a big print of the Gatekeeper. I would like a big print of the Road Opener, and possibly the Master are the ones that come to mind as I speak out loud right now. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm okay with like people not buying the stuff. Obviously, as I say, I'm not complaining or whatever. But it's just more of a case of then what that means for doing any more of them and stuff like that. So, Shaman, I hope that answers your question, and I hope that we get to do some more of them at some stage. Okay, next question. And this is from Marlo. Hello, Tommy. I was wondering if you could look at the dark magic that is Facebook. Very few people, at least in circles I move in, feel good after spending time on there. So here's something. So there's something going on our feeds that feeds on our energy. It's seductive, but in an incubus-succubus kind of way. My own theory extends to AI, archons, the Matrix kind of scenarios, but I'm also aware of how we give up our own power to it for short-term games. Consciousness is a tool of magic, and something is taking advantage of ours. With your extended understanding of magic, would you be interested in exploring this on a podcast, perhaps? I think it may interest people. I have talked a bit about Facebook before in a slightly different way, but in regards to magic too. And it's on the blog, and you can search it out. It's called Facebook Magic and I, or something very equivalent. I will put it in the show notes of this anyway. My thing with Facebook is I have zero expectation of privacy whatsoever on it at all. I don't, under any circumstance, feel that anything that I would say, or even in private messages or any of that kind of thing, I don't expect it not to go into the big algorithm or the big database or whatever. So I don't. When I heard, and I only had to look it up afterwards, the Cambridge Analytic thing, whatever, because I had to look up into it. I'm not shocked at all. Like, I assumed that was going on. I assumed that's part of the whole Facebook thing. Like, Facebook is free. We use it for free, voluntary for free, and we have this kind of expectation that they should treat us better or do something like this. It's like, calling around to someone's house and expecting them to live by your rules. It's their house. They can do what they want. And having a kind of a thought that they're not, they're going to treat you in the way you want to treat you, it's a bit, I feel, it's slightly maybe naive in a sense. Like, it's huge business. Is it the biggest business in the world? Or certainly one of them anyway. And so yeah, first of all, I've no expectation of privacy whatsoever. Two, they definitely have shown that they try to make people or change people's emotions by the type of stuff that they show on their feed. And there was some sort of experiment that they did where they tried, I'm not sure if they tried to make people depressed or they showed them more depressing stuff than other people and seeing what the reaction was. And obviously the reaction was that people who were showing more depression stuff showed more symptoms of being depressed. So there's definitely that kind of, you could go as far as say mind control or sort of thing, but it's probably just seeing what, like a social experiment. Well, that's how they framed it anyway, that it was a social experiment to see what was going on. And it's a perfect outlet or a perfect place to do all of these type of social experiments and see how people react to certain things, public opinion and all that. And it's great for probably for PR companies and all that. So I can see it's a minefield, or it's a not a minefield. It's a great kind of place for people to find out loads of information about us. I don't think thirdly that Facebook really care about Tommy Kelly, like per se. That I don't think I'm being spied on as an individual. I think it more is that they're interested in all the people who are a bit like me and how they can sell them stuff, how they can sell our information to advertisers, to politicians, to all of these things. But I don't think that's any different from me using my supermarket Club Point card or loyalty card, and they track now everything that I buy, know my marital status, my age, my gender, my amount of kids people have, or their jobs, their income, all of these things that you probably filled out at some point to get your card, or at least have made them aware of your demographic by other means. So I don't feel that's any different from me using my loyalty card, other than it seems that I get some benefit from using a loyalty card in supermarket because they send me, vouchers or give me deals or whatever. But I'm sure that's been added to the prices of the things I've bought, so they're not losing any money. And the return thing with Facebook is that I do get something in return. I get to use Facebook, which is a huge thing, like I couldn't build it, I couldn't get the crowd, I couldn't have the interaction without it. There's a lot of advantages to it. I have some very personal rules about how I use Facebook, in that I filter an awful lot of it. I use the whole, I do not want to see this, a tremendous amount. I've blocked loads of news sites because I have no interest in any sort of news sites. Because it's just depressing and there's nothing I can do about it. I spoke about that before, that of all of the things that have happened horrible in the last year that I don't know about. Like say, I don't follow the Trump thing at all. I haven't been following any of the gun stuff that's going on in America because number one, it's a different country. There's literally nothing I can do about it at all. And not knowing about it has only made my life less stressed. All I could have done is worry about it. Now you may say, oh, well, what about all the stuff that, if you're American, I'm saying, well, if you're American, that may, it may, be more in your interest to follow those things. But I also don't follow any Irish politics or anything that's going on. And my life hasn't fallen apart because of that. There's that big Brexit thing goes on, and there's the border stuff that's going to between Ireland and Northern Ireland. That's a big issue. I'm aware there's something going on, not following it, don't care. Whatever happens is going to happen, and me worrying about it or following it isn't going to make any difference. Now, if everyone thought like that, then no change would ever happen. But the thing is, not everyone is going to talk or be like that. Most people are engaging in this kind of stuff and are in that. So let them at it. I don't find any benefit from it. I don't think me worrying about any of these things changes anything. Other than I worry about it, and I don't feel I have any say in it anyway. So all of my news feeds, all my feed on Facebook is totally like, I've blocked newspapers, blocked loads of websites. I do an awful lot of that. Unfollow websites that people share, and it's whatever, if it's political or whatever, I just straight away unfollow it. I used to have the FB Purity where you can filter actual words and stuff like that, but it's slowed down Facebook too much for me. Probably because it was filtering too much. So you could be, I could filter Trump or Clinton or water rates thing that was going on in Ireland or whatever, and all of this kind of thing. So highly filtered. I also try as much as possible not to have people I actually know on Facebook, but I've let that down a bit more just because it's been easier to interact with certain people, say in the photography club or different things like that, just through Facebook. But I have my Facebook lockdown in that you can only send me a friend request if you're friends with someone who's already a friend with me. You can't look me up by my email or my telephone number. And any of the security things that I can switch on, I have switched on. All that said, though, I think I don't think it affects any of my. I don't think it stops them from snooping. And I certainly have had those things where I'm talking about something in the room, and then get advertised it or mentioned about it on Facebook very shortly after, which is creepy the first time. Then you go, right, of course. I don't have the Facebook app on my phone. I don't have Messenger on my phone. I don't have it on my Kindle, because it was the Kindle actually that I had open with Facebook on it that I later got advertised at. Not even Messenger. It was opened on a window, the browser window. And I was told that they can't do that, can't listen to that. But yeah, well, obviously they did, because it was such an extraordinarily weird thing for it to be a coincidence. Absolutely. We were talking about this before we got pregnant, and I was talking about for fertility treatments and stuff like that on the car on the way to to town next, and then I got ads for fertility treatment, which, I mean, I've never got on Facebook or never had anything like that. And that was me speaking out loud, not in a phone call in Messenger, not in Messenger, nothing to do, just speaking out loud with my Kindle in the back of the car. So that's weird, but I also expect that. So now I don't have any of that on any of my items. I've also been told that if you have Facebook open on, say, Chrome, that they can track any of the other tabs that you have open. Whether or not that's true, I just assume it is true. So if I'm on Facebook, I don't have any other tabs open at all. Within reason, I've Spotify open or YouTube or something, but still they could probably track that. But I assume they're doing that. Just assume they're all doing it. Do I think there's actually anything evil behind it? Like an archon? It all depends on what the definition of archon is. An actual spirit, evil being that is, from the whole Gnostic thing, I don't think so. I think it's just business. And I don't think they have our interests at heart. But I don't think it's malevolent or evil in the actual evilness of the proper sense of the word. But overall, do I think it's good for us? Not sure. It probably isn't. There's definitely in that post that I talked about in Facebook, where I was deleting the Facebook Magick and I post, it's just talked about how it became too much for me at one point and all that. So I definitely think it can add stress and it can add things. So would I be on Facebook if I didn't have the, if I wasn't trying to do the blog and the podcast and trying to publicize stuff and all that? I probably wouldn't. That's the long and short of it. I use it an awful lot for, in this kind of, if you want, in a business sense, rather than just, a social kind of sense or whatever. So I'm not sure if there's an actual kind of, if they're doing magic. Well, again, define what magic is. Like every act, every, intentional act is magic if you go with Crowley's thing. So it all depends on what you define magic as. Are they doing satanic ceremonies or Luciferian ceremonies, New World Order, all that kind of stuff? I personally don't think so. But what do I know? I haven't a clue. I don't think it's malevolent in that kind of sense. I just think it's big business and there's lots of money to be made, and they're making it, and having something that has such ability to data mine people from a business point of view. It's probably really dumb not to use that to make money, if that's the biggest thing that you do, especially on a free platform. So that's what I think of Facebook. Be very careful on it. Have no expectation of privacy whatsoever. And even in private messages, on Messenger, know that if it's on your phone, that they're probably looking at all your other stuff too, and be aware of that. So your choice to have it on your phone or not. I don't. And also, I don't think they're that interested in you personally, just people like you and your demographic. Also, I reckon it will come a point that they will be able to, they're definitely going to use your Facebook against you in applying for jobs and your social media history. So good luck with that. People who are 20 and doing stuff like that. Glad I wasn't on social media when I was young and foolish. And they probably will be able to use Facebook to convict you of stuff. And if thought crime becomes a thing, then you probably will get convicted for having rant on Facebook for being racist or homophobic or whatever it is that you've been on Facebook. Or maybe that's even in already. Maybe they can use Facebook as evidence against you in a crime. So be aware of all of these things. Next question. What exactly is chaos magic and what is your approach to magic in general? Well, I've spoken about this a couple of times before, and my approach to magic changes depending on what mood I'm in or what kind of what's going on in my life. And it's very cyclical, and patterns emerge over a while where I'll go from being very skeptical about the whole thing to being very woo woo about the whole thing to being somewhere in the middle to, you know, not even caring about any of it, not wanting to think about any of it whatsoever. So chaos magic to me is the best approach because none of that matters. It's is it true? Is magic real? Is it not real? Is it all in your head? Is it actual woo woo? Is there spirits? Is there demons? Is there a god? All of that is irrelevant because the only thing that matters is having these beliefs. Do they get you closer to your goal or further away from your goal? Not if they're true. And the whole thing of acting as if. So if acting as if Jesus is real and he can convince or absolve you of your sins and get you into heaven, makes you a happier person, then it's irrelevant whether it's true or not, in my opinion. So is the demons of the Goetia, are they actual real things, or are they, as Crowley once said and then may have taken back, just parts of your own brain? Does it matter if you get the results you want? And that's my approach to it. And I think kind of chaos magic is taking a bit of a turn at the minute, where when it came out first, it was trying to get rid of all the old stuff, all of the old grimoire thing, and get to the very pragmatic, practical stuff of the most useful tech, and not having any assertions or beliefs about what is true, capital T true, just all, it was more small t true, subjective truth, anecdotal truth. And I think now it's kind of headed more back in the direction of adding all of this stuff back in, the real, this is how it really works. And I personally, I don't go on that journey, or I don't at the moment anyway, because I have no idea what the capital T truth is, and I certainly don't think that my truth is going to be the same truth as other people. So I don't see it. I don't like the idea of chaos magic embracing capital T truth rather than subjective truth, because, well, I mean, if people can do what they want, I don't care what people do. That's the thing. But my approach would be that chaos magic is subjective, no outside actual truth, and by design, that even if there is an outside capital T truth, that it doesn't matter, that it's the effectiveness of having your own beliefs. It's the idea that placebo put into other areas of your life other than just healing yourself. So you believe that this sugar pill makes you better, you get better. The capital T truth is that it's just a sugar pill, no use to you whatsoever. And in fact, knowing that hinders you in the kind of sense of, you have to believe these things. So belief is a huge thing for me in chaos magic, which I think has also been taken away from it a bit recently, especially in certain circles, whatever, and certain kind of ideas. And that's fine. And I'm also fine with everyone being into different things, and like being into saying that belief isn't a thing, and that's actually spirits and demons are real, or Luciferianism, where you have this kind of somewhat twisting of the old savior Christ figure, only putting him as the Lucifer figure, the redeemer, the intelligence, the person, not the anti-God in a sense, but the person who give humans the ability to think for themselves and all. That's all of these things, great and all that. What I don't like is then demanding that other people believe that too. I think it's in the Ramsey Duke's books, SSOTBME, where he talks about that. It's the demanding your subjective truth, or your personal gnosis, or your unverified personal gnosis is the truth for, universal capital T truth. I've talked about that before in the book club and stuff like that, so I won't go into it again here. So my approach to magic is that my belief about what I'm doing is the most fundamental, important thing, rather than an actual, say, like a hoodoo thing, which is more based on actual tangible things like herbs, oils, and that kind of thing, but that the magic is intrinsic to them rather than the thought behind it or the belief behind it, where I would see them as amplifiers of my belief. And it's the belief thing that is the thing that I'm most interested in, because that's the thing that seems to be the working agent of Magick. So when people ask me what is Magick, me personally, right now, today, next week, I reserve my right to change my opinion completely. But right now, it's that it's belief is the important thing. And how far that stretches into woo-woo-ness or just good psychology, it depends on what they ask me. And that right now, I would say it's probably 90% just psychology with an open door for some sort of woo-woo. Other times, I definitely go, there's probably more woo-woo to it than psychology. But the belief is the key factor for me in chaos magic. And that's not something that everyone holds to be true. So the next question then. Can you use the 40 servants with other systems? And this has come up a lot recently where people want to mix them with demons and spirits and the Goetia and whatever. And so the answer to that is you can do whatever you want. You absolutely do whatever you want. That is my whole thing about chaos magic. Go do whatever you want. And also don't listen to me. Just because I created 40 servants doesn't mean I can tell you how you can use the 40 servants. Use them whenever you want. I will correct you or stop you or not, discuss with you if you start demanding that the way you use the 40 servants is the way everyone should use the 40 servants. That's it. I like the 40 servants. I will always say, this is the way I designed them to be, this is the way I use them, and this is how I suggest you use them. But go do whatever you want. So if you want to mix them with demons and angels and spirits or voodoo or any of that thing, go for it. I've absolutely no problem with it. Is it designed to be like that? It's not. So that's the thing you have to decide which you want to do. Is it go as designed or go as on your own path? And as a chaos magician, I'd say go on your own path if you want to do it. I don't think it'll work any better by mixing it with the Goetia. I don't think it'll work any less mixing it with the Goetia, but it'll get muddled maybe or confused, and it'll be very hard to work out which bits worked and which didn't. Is it the healer that healed you, or is it some demon from the Goetia that healed you? Is it, it's harder to work out. So I suggest just use the 40 servants on their own, and see how you get on, and then mix them if you want to, and see how it works. And then just use the Goetia on its own and see how that works. And then, at the end of all that, see what you come up with. Jase Miller is a great one, and he talks about that. It's chaos magic. He wouldn't be a huge fan of chaos magic, but he's not anti-chaos magic or whatever for the most part, I don't think. And he says that it's good to do your own versions of things and be, and find your own way and do what works and all that. But for the first time you do something, do it the way it's meant to be done, rather than just going straight to your own way. Do the Goetia as much as possible as it's meant to be done, or whatever system you're working. I know the Goetia is not the easiest thing to do exactly the way it's meant to be done. Even the Necronomicon is very hard to do exactly the way it's meant to be done, but it's doable. At least try to do it as accurately as it's suggested first. Then go do whatever you want. So at least you have a bar reading or, a line that you can start from, and go, well, I did it the way it is, and now let's see how I can refine this or make it more suitable for me or more enjoyable or whatever it is. So can you use it with other systems? You can do whatever you want. It's chaos magic. Do whatever you want as long as the aim is in getting the results you want. With the caveat of probably try it on its own first so that you have a touching base to know where to start from. Or what worked, so you'll know that is it the 40 servants working for you? Is it the angels working for you? Is it spirits? Whatever it is. That's my suggestion. But then when it does work out for you, don't come back and tell everyone that, the only way to use the 40 servants is to use it with the Necronomicon, because that's not what it is. That's not what it's about. And the final question is it's a number of people have been asking me about it, and so it's not an actual question, and it's very fashionable to be talking about it right now because Gordon has just done a podcast about him, but it's about Jordan Peterson. But so many people have been asking me about him and talking to me about him that I just want to say a little bit about it, but I don't want to go into too much about it because he's been very saturated. I'm sure everyone's sick of it. People have been kind of emailing me or private messaging me and stuff like that, and in some sense, asking me or to justify what I like about Jordan Peterson, or to kind of, ask me how can I be into this kind of thing? And for the vast majority, 95% of people who talk to me about Jordan Peterson haven't read his book, haven't listened to any of his videos, have only watched videos that are made by people who don't like him. They're or they've not actually sat down and listen to his stuff. And there's not much I can talk to people about that kind of thing, because it's like it's a straw man, it's cliche, and it's not to say he hasn't said all these things or whatever, but I'm not defending him. My thing on Jordan Peterson is he's big and bold enough he can defend himself, and I don't agree with everything he says. I don't agree with everything I say. I don't agree with anyone to don't go to full Johnny. Like Stuart Wilde, who I love and adore, is a madman and has some stupid ideas or whatever. But overall, as an overall thing, I enjoy Stuart Wilde in the same way I enjoy Jordan Peterson. I'm sure he is a total asshole in certain areas of his life, or has really weird ideas that will eventually come out, or have come out, depending on who you want to talk about or who you talk to. But so do I. So does everyone. And he's in a great position at the minute. But he seems to be trying to do his best. At least he's telling his truth. Whether or not we want to go with his truth, I think he's been honest about it. I'd say he thinks this is how he thinks is, the world works, or how it should. And he's trying to do things to make better. I think he's trying to add positivity, or not positivity, he's trying to make the world better rather than destroy the world. That's my general opinion of him. I have zero interest in his political stuff. I don't care at all, because I'm not into politics at all. The culture over here is very different than it is in America, and we don't have the huge worries and debates about all of those type of things that he is facing or he is objecting to, and all those things. It's just not something that comes up in my day. It's not something that's, I find, I have any say in, or I have any right to have any say in, because it's nothing to do with me. I think everyone should be allowed to do whatever they want, be whoever they want, say they are. My caveat again would be, or not my caveat, whatever, my objection to it is that I don't think any of these things should necessarily be law. I don't think that if you want to be, I don't know, whatever rule you have about the world or whatever that you live by, I think that's great, and you should do that and live by it. But I don't think you should force that on everyone else. Now, drawing the line, and so I don't know where that ends, because you should have to force some things, should be like hate speech and all that. I don't know where the line ends, or are you allowed to at what point, like hate speech, or what point should we allow things to be brought into law to stop people from, having shitty lives because people are allowed to say or do whatever they want? I don't know the answer to it. I don't know, and I know I'm so delighted that I'm not the person who has to come up with the answer for that. I don't have an opinion on it because I'm not informed enough on it, and I'm not informed enough on it because it doesn't directly affect me. And people then say, yeah, but you can't turn a blind eye to this. This is happening in the world, and it's from your privileged point of view that you're allowed to do that. And fair enough, but there's a million things that I have no say and no connection to, or that I have no idea about it, or I've no, that I have no opinion, not informed, and there's a million things. And what's strong and hard for you, or what's close to your heart, whatever, that's good, and that should be your fight. I'm fighting and talking about and doing things that are close to my heart, and that I can have an influence, and I have some sort of not expertise, but I'm somewhat informed in some of the things I talk about. I'm not informed enough in these things, but I care about everyone, and I hope everyone's lives are much better. But I don't know, I don't have a final say or opinion, and I'm glad I don't have to make the decision about it. If it comes down to ever a vote, my vote would always be that the person gets to decide to do whatever they want themselves. For the most things, I'm sure there's points where I would disagree. I don't know. I'd have to think about it at the time. So my only massive influence, or my massive interest in Jordan Peterson, and it's a huge thing, is how he views, like, say, his Jungian perspectives, his Maps of Meaning book. I think the 12 Rules for Lives, I think in general has some great ideas. I think the personality lectures that are on YouTube, the last one's 2017, and the Maps of Meaning ones are brilliant, and I've learned so much from him, from that, whatever. But I don't know, personal politics, you can do, go do whatever he wants. It's not my interest. And it was a discussion we had on Facebook recently, where I was trying to go like, well, how do we separate the art from the artist in regards to what I was talking about? I just was watching Seven again. It's one of my favorite films, and Kevin Spacey. And how should I feel about this? Should I not watch Seven anymore? Should I, all of these type of things? And it's kind of the same with like Jordan Peterson stuff. Should I not take the good things because there's a possibility of bad things or there's problematic areas? Like another person I really like is Mike Cernovich, and his Gorilla Mindset book is brilliant, and I've learned an awful lot from it. But I do not go anywhere near agree or have anything in common with him when it comes to his politics and his MAGA and his Trump stuff and a lot of his stuff. Number one, first, I don't care about any of that stuff, and two, if it did come down to it, I don't agree with it, but it doesn't mean that his Gorilla Mindset or his personal development tech isn't brilliant. But there's a kind of a feeling sometimes that you should object to the entirety of someone because of one thing. And I know that there has to be a point where someone does something so horrific that they have to, that you have to discount everything else they've done. I don't know where that line is. And certainly I don't think because they have a political view that I am opposed to, or I disagree with, or I don't care about. So I don't know where the line is on all of those things. It's like I said about Stuart Wilde. Do I give or do I drop everything about Stuart Wilde because at the end of his life he got very dark and started saying that demons can get up your anus and like this madness and all of these things he did in his later books? Or do I just accept the stuff that I like from the beginning of it? And I know that's cherry picking and there's issues and all with that. So I don't know the answer to these things at the end of the day. But it's like, Crowley had an awful lot of good things to say, but my God, he had some awful stupid things to say, or bad things, or whatever way you want to label these things. So do I discount everything Crowley says because he was probably a bit of a bit, or depending on who you ask, large arsehole or small arsehole, bit of an arsehole, or he was a man of his times, or whatever he was. Or John Lennon, by all accounts, was a nasty, nasty piece of work. But I love the Beatles, and I love some of his songs. I love a lot of his songs. And it was out of that thread, I was kind of come to things like, what would be the thing that someone would have to do for me to really dislike their art? And I didn't come up with an answer. I don't know, like, if it turned out they had killed 50,000 people or had molested a load of children, or so it's something. There's definitely something where it would feel. But I mean, even if it turned out that John Lennon did something absolutely depraved, if I heard the song Across the Universe, would my psyche would it still enjoy it? And I probably would, because I don't think you can turn off that kind of thing. Like, it's like looking at a Caravaggio painting and they've just been blown away by the technique and the whole idea, and then you kind of go, well, whoa, Caravaggio was a madman, a nutball, he was more interesting in his nutballness than depraved. But does it affect then the art? And there's a podcast as well I did a while back which is talking about just how what we know about art, how it can change what the art is. So it's an answer or it's a question that's up there in my mind at different, and I don't know the answer. And I'm kind of getting more and more okay with not having a definite or the definitive opinion about things. Just to allow, and I feel that people kind of expect everyone else to have a side or an actual opinion about something, like where you've come to a conclusion about something. And there's lots of things I haven't come to conclusions about, and I'm okay with that. But I think society can sometimes try and force you to have a definitive point of view or side on all these topics, and I don't. And I like to leave them open, and I like to not have to worry about them, but I'll certainly discuss them, and I'd be open to different sides, whatever. But then making that final decision, unless it's directly affecting me or those around me, then I'm not sure. I'm not sure I should have a definitive opinion on all of these things. So yeah, that's all the questions I got this time round, and we've got quite a different ones and stuff like that. And yeah, it's interesting. So please, if you have questions for me and you want me to answer these things, on the podcast, then yeah, send me some questions, and we'll do it again next month. And until then, let's get to the next bit. So last Thursday evening was the photography club's final night. And being that I had got in the top 6 of my division, or my, my category, I got into the final. Now, there was only 5 of us who really entered it. By the end of the competition, there was only 5 of us left, so it was by default I got in anyway. So I came in the league, I came 4th out of 5, so second last, or 4th out of 5, if, as I say, is my glass half full answer. And I've done a video of this, and there's a post over on the blog, adventuresmovie.com, if you want to have a look at the photos I put in and stuff. But it was a good night. Well, the way it was set up is that everyone was sitting around, and there was a light box put at the front. 3 judges sat in front of the light box with remote control scoring things, and beside it was the results. So they scored out of 9. So there was a maximum score of 27 that you could get for each of your images, with 9 each, 1 to 9. And each photo was shown for about 3 seconds, 5 seconds at most, in this kind of light box thing, and then moved away on to the next one. So the monochromes went up first, and then the colours. And when it came to it in the end, cut the long story short, is I ended up coming out last. Well, it was actually joint last with my friend Enda, who, it's worse for him because he actually won the league. So he went from winning to losing. But winning the league, it turns out doesn't really matter at all, because it's all down to finals night who ultimately wins. So you can do really well all year, and as Enda did, not too well at the end. So coming last in one sense is obviously very disheartening and a bit, what's the point? But I wasn't disheartened by it, and I wasn't annoyed by it in a sense. It was a good form. It was a good night. There was lots of good laughs and all of that kind of thing. And as I've said before, the level of the advancement in this non-advanced section, the quality level is very, very high. So I mean, I'm in with a good bunch of people, and Pete, who won it, certainly deserved to win it. So there's none of that kind of a thing. The only thing, I suppose, an advantage in one sense of coming in last is that you can certainly play the card of they just don't understand me, man, more than any other position, which you can't really if you come in second or third, because they kind of understand you. You can just kind of go, oh, they just don't get me at all. I'm, this isn't for me. But kind of after some of the guys came up and were talking to me, I'm trying to say that what I should do, and my approach to it is that rather than trying to do stuff that's mad and out there, which is they're not mad or out there to me. Now, you have to remember that this club's quite conservative, so my stuff is very out there. That I should try to make something that I like, but also will do well in competitions. And I totally understand this, and that, that's good advice to do better in competitions. But I'm not sure if I want to do better in competitions, because I'm not sure ultimately if the competitions are improving me as an artist or making me into something that I'm not or don't want to be. And it's interesting that my highest scoring photos on the night, and the 2 that did particularly well, in fact, I think one of them was the highest scoring photo in our section. That may not be true, but it certainly was one of the highest scoring ones. Both of the photos came from the very first night of the competition, way back when I was going in not really knowing anything about photography. So that would lead you to believe that my intuitions that I had about good images and how to make good images was better before I went through the competitive monthly competitions and the league. That I had a better kind of idea of what makes a good image than I do possibly now, because I have thinking too much about technicality or how to have photographs, or I've pulled away from the whole thing altogether. And I'll put it like this. I would be very interested to look at my photos that I put in the last competition as the person who was before I joined the photography club. I would love to know whether that person would like what I'm doing now. And while I certainly have become a better photographer, a much better technical photographer out of doing the competitive things, have I kind of lost my way along in trying to be, where you have to be molded into this kind of competitive thing of what they're looking for. And obviously I still didn't win in the end, or do particularly well. I did well over the course of the thing. I did get image of the month twice, and I did get 20s full marks and some images and stuff. But to come in last, it's a no man's hurdy in that I put in stuff that I really liked and very proud of and stuff like that. And I didn't really go in to win the competition. I went in to just finish my sense of completion to the type of thing, to play my own game. So while I didn't think I would come last, and it was actually my only thing that I really wanted to do was not come last in my first year, it's hard to know. But it's hard to know because there's so many advantages that I got out of the competition, but I feel that the continuing it might necessarily be the best thing. But there's then all these advantages that you get, like the focus and having to do this and having to put photos in every month and getting stuff together is great stuff and it's good motivation. But I don't know how much longer I can do it with still being told I don't really know what the photographer's trying to say, or I don't really get this. And then to be kind of told by the people that, you know, I have to kind of change a bit what I'm doing to do well in competitions. I don't know if I want to do that. And so there's lots of kind of things going on. So there's one part of me is delighted in one sense to come in last because it's like, yeah, they don't understand me. I'm doing my own thing. I'm awesome and all that kind of thing. They just don't recognize me. Another part of me is a bit like, isn't that strange that happened the week I did the podcast about not getting what you want, and that it's somehow nobler to come in last and to, that whole thing of that it's a better thing. That's seemed to be echoed almost immediately in my real world, as these type of things do when I speak them out loud. Oddness there, that it's kind of they're the prime example that and one part of me is a bit devastated that I came in last, because who wants to come in last? But another part of me has this kind of a thing where it's going, oh yeah, it's more noble, that's a better thing to come in last. Certainly there's a feeling of me, it's better to come in last, as I said, than in third. But that's weird, isn't it? Because you can, as I say, you can kind of feel that you're more your own person, whereas in third you're kind of half in the middle or whatever. But third is a better position than last, obviously, always, because you've in some sense won. So I am looking forward to the competitions being, they're not happening again until September. So I have this break over the summer to kind of do whatever I want. And I think I will develop enough of my own thing within that if I do come back to the competitions in September, it will be with a new eye, different approach, hopefully a better understanding of who I am as a photographer and as an artist, whatever. And like see, by coming away from these competitions and the club for a while, trying to rediscover who I am as an artist, because I haven't done as much art, like actual drawing this year, as I have done photography, because my whole interest was in photography and trying to learn that and add that to my repertoire and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't feel that the whole thing is a failure. And one of the one of the senior guys come up to me at the end, and he was talking to me, and he was doing his best to, he's like a fan in a sense. He says there's a great eye, and he wants to encourage me and wants to, wanted to make sure I wasn't disheartened by the experience and all that. But again, I was trying to go, you kind of can't do what you're doing because it's mad, and you're not my eye and what I like isn't going to necessarily do well in competition. I appreciated that, I have to say. It was very nice and that's the camaraderie thing of the club is great in that kind of sense. And he is right, of course, that probably doing what I'm doing isn't the best thing to be doing if I want to win competitions. So I have to decide whether I want to win competitions or not. That's basically it. Or whether doing these competitions is better for me ultimately or worse for me as an artist. And it could be better for me because it could put me in, being restricted into a certain box can make you very creative and all of that things, but also restriction can restrict you. So there's all of that thing too. So it's a lot to think about, and I think the break will be good for me and all that kind of thing. But I definitely haven't come away disheartened. That's the main thing. There was a brief moment the next morning when all the hype had come down and all that kind of stuff that I did feel a bit low and a bit kind of, but I have those moments anyway, and that might have been the reason then I used to justify the feeling, not justify because I don't have to justify how I feel, but to explain the feeling I had. So it's hard to know. It passed very shortly when I was talking to my friend about it again. So that's the end of the photography clubs for this year. Obviously not going to be the end of my photography or anything on the blog for a while. I will be doing stuff, but it'll be less geared towards competition. So I'm glad I did it. Definitely glad I did the first year of competition. So it's just a decision of whether I continue this or not. So, yeah. And there you go, folks. That was the Tommy Kelly podcast for another week. If you like this sort of thing, you can go to tommykellypodcast.com and you will see all of the past episodes there, and links to all of the places that you could possibly need to subscribe to it: iTunes, Pocket Casts, Castaway, Stitcher, SoundCloud, all of those places. And if you use something different and would like me to put up the icon for it there, just let me know and I'll do it. I'm very happy to do that for everyone. Now, there is also the Patreon if you want to help me continue to do things like this and make it better and all of that goodness. Then you can go to tommykelly.com, and that's TOMMIE, Tommy Kelly, and that brings you straight to the Patreon. And there's a number of rewards there you can get for the different tiers of the contribution amounts. And in that, we also have the Journey, which is the year-long meditative shadow working we are doing using servitors. And the next section of that is actually going up tomorrow, I think, depending on when so if this is just general release, it went up yesterday. So that's one of the rewards. The other rewards is the PDFs of the Grimoire. There's the digital deck. There's all my comics. There's a number of other things. Check it out. It's straight there on the page on the right hand side, and you can check out the different rewards. I'm on Facebook. Just search for Adventures in Woo Woo. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, 500px and Flickr, all as @TommyKelly. I have a Facebook of my art page rather than just Adventures in Woo Woo, the kind of the magic stuff, and that's Tommy Kelly Artist. The blog and the main hub of all things is adventuresinwoowoo.com, and there you can find everything you need to know about the YouTube channel, the podcast, as we said, the 40 Servants, which is the magic and divination system that I've come up with. You can buy the altar cards, you can find out how to use the 40 Servants for absolutely free, and do all the different things that you could possibly do with the paid version of the thing, with the deck and all that. So all of that's there. You can also find that by going to the 40servants.com or just 40servants.com. So I think that's everything covered. I usually forget one or two things, but hopefully I haven't this time. So good people of the internet, may this week be one of those weeks where you look back and go, God, remember that week? That was a great week. A lot of really nice things happened and things just fell into place, and all of those things that I was worried about just kind of dissolved and disappeared and just resolved, became things that I didn't have to worry about anymore, or ended in a nice way and all of that things. By the end of it, I've just kind of, life's okay. Life's pretty good. Life's happening. I enjoy this. I have a bit of a new appreciation or reappreciation of life. And I feel blessed, and I feel lucky, and I feel that things are working out. So I wish that for all of you. I hope that this week turns out to be one of those weeks where it makes it worth all the hardships and all that just work out, and everything just falls into place for you. So good people of the internet, be very well, be extremely good, and have a wonderful week. And I will talk to you